So you need 1,000 levels for your character. And so you want to farm XP and you want to farm it fast. But how do you know which is the best way? How do you sort through all the crap? Well, we're here to help. In this guide, we're going to give you the best methods to farm XP so that you can take the fastest route to earn 1,000 levels and max out your SHD watch.
And if you don't know, now you know.
If you're a new and returning player, you're going to want to listen up. Today, we're going to focus specifically on leveling your character. The goal, 1,000 levels. And why is this number important? Well, your watch. You get your watch by beating Warlords of New York and returning back to Washington, D.C. at what is level 40. We've made a whole collection of updated beginner's guides with the latest information. You can find it here in this playlist. And at this stage, you should have at least watched this one. Level 40, now what? So you're going to want to focus on that before you really start cracking at your watch. Why is your watch really important? Well, that's going to get you basically up to par with everybody else in the game. So what does the watch do? Well, when you see somebody like me with a watch 14,000 and you see somebody else with a watch 1,000, we're basically the same when it comes to power. And that's because your attributes that come off of your watch are fixed. There's a cap. So let's take a closer look. Looking inside your watch, you have offense, defense, handling, and utility, as well as scavenging, which are basically points you can use to purchase resources. I'm not going to look at each individual value here, but you want these all capped out. That way your build's going to be performing as good as everybody else's. When your watch isn't maxed, you're sort of playing with a handicap. Also, as you level up your watch, you start getting a health boost. We don't focus too much on health in this game, but it does aid a little bit to your survivability. Anyways, they put a cap now to the health boost at 60,000. And that's because there were some people in the dark zone with very large watches and they were using health as an advantage against newer players. So they've squashed that.
$1 million question. How come every time the devs want to fix PvP, they end up just nerfing PvE?
So once you get your watch to 1,000, then all of these are going to be completely full. So in order to earn watch levels, you need experience, or what we call XP. And one watch level is equivalent to roughly 700,000 XP. And to help put things into perspective for you, if it's roughly 700,000 per level, and you need 1,000 levels to reach your watch cap, then that means you're looking for 700 million in total XP.
What the F? Seriously?
Crazy number, right? It's not as scary as it sounds. So for most, 50 levels per day is a healthy grind. That's focused on XP for about 3 hours. If you do 3-hour sessions, getting 50 levels per day, then that means you're gonna need 20 days of grinding in order to get your watch to 1,000. This is just rough math because there are XP bonuses in the game for certain activities. And when you're playing in a group, sometimes you can earn XP at even faster rates. But let's just use these numbers as a general guide.
Yeah, but here's the problem with your math. 3 to 4 hours of XP grinding, 50 levels, that's for pussies. A real gamer, he's gonna push 8 to 12 hours. All you gotta do is put on adult diapers and buy yourself a 24 case of high-octane Chernobyl energy drinks. Then you're doing God's work.
So when it comes to farming XP, the most popular, or let's just say the best ways to do it, are all gonna be focused in the open world. So basically the greater map, not missions. Not game modes like Countdown or the Summit or Descent. And even inside the open world, it's all relatively the same. So there used to be one method better than the others, and certain methods reign superiority. But the devs a couple of seasons ago leveled everything out. So you might hear somebody come at you and say,
yeah, I don't care what the devs did. I get almost 100 levels per hour doing public executions.
We've tested just about everything. A good majority of that is exaggeration.
Question. What's that timer down there in the corner? It's sort of freaking me out.
Yes, we timed these down to the second and compared each method with each other to truly see which is the best XP farm in the game. Because no matter which way you choose, no matter which one is the fastest, the reality is it's still a grind. I just want to make sure you're getting the best information here, because what you don't want to do is invest massive amounts of time in one activity just to find out that there's really a better and more realistic way to get your XP fast. So in this video, we're going to keep our feet on the ground and we're going to give you realities here.
Dope! That hurt. I lost my best friend that way.
Let's break the best XP farming into 3 categories. You got public executions, you got control points, and then you have regional farming. We're gonna break into each one of these, provide the suggested build to get the greatest XP, rank them, and give the pros and cons. First up is public executions. So the reason why public executions are really attractive for farming XP is because they're relatively short engagements, and even if you're playing in heroic, they're not all elites. You might not be familiar yet, but certain activities in heroic are all elites, like control points. So public executions are not that and a lot easier. In any method we're talking here, when it comes to farming XP, you want to turn on directives. And so you want builds and activities that make that possible. Make it possible to run all 5. You have 5 available. And keep in mind, depending on when you're watching this video, these directives can change. They rotate every season. Each one of these directives gives you 25% more XP. So that's 125% more. And you're gonna get up to 10% better targeted loot drops. But today, let's just stick to XP here. So public executions come with this symbol. And so the idea here is to clear as many of these activities as you can per hour. So it's going to require a lot of scanning the map and finding public executions really close to fast travel points. Doing these activities, you'll find you spend much more time traveling than you do in the actual fights. The fights are seconds long, really. So we've put this to the test many times. And regardless of what you may have heard on the street, these get you about 16 levels per hour when playing solo. So when you hear somebody say,
Like I said, 50 to 100 levels per hour. That's how I roll.
that's a big gap. And I got pretty darn good at this. So my hunch is when they're throwing those numbers at you is that they're probably playing in a group, which you can too. So keep that in mind. When you're playing solo, it's going to be 16 levels per hour. When you're playing in group, it's probably going to be closer to 20. So the activity itself doesn't scale up in group. It's just that there's going to be more kills equal more XP and accolades. Let me explain how to do this, and then I'll walk you through the build. So what you want to do is sort of surprise attack the enemies, and you're going to hit them with a sticky firebomb. When that first enemy dies, all the other enemies are going to catch on fire and die. It's a cascading effect. As they're dying, they don't need much assistance from you. I put a couple of bullets into them with my gun just to activate in sync, which is going to make that skill damage just a little bit stronger. But otherwise, I am making my way to what I suspect is going to be the spawn point for the next wave. So each one of these is going to have 2 waves, not very many enemies. So I don't always guess right on where that next spawn wave is coming from. Sometimes there's a variable, sometimes there's not. It just depends on where the location of this public execution is. When that spawn comes out, I hit them with my torch usually, and they all fall down. It's super simple. And my twist on this method is a little bit different than what others are doing. And that's because I've adjusted the build so that we could run this with all 5 directives. So we're doing this on challenging with 5 directives. And you'll hear a lot of people say out there the best way to do this is challenging with 4 directives because they don't want to run the skill directive. But that's not a problem, actually, with this build. One of the directives this season is a scavenging directive, which basically means after you use a skill, you have to go pick up these green things in order to reactivate that skill. So there's no real cooldown. So it can work for your advantage because that can give you an instant back on your skill, which is what we're doing here in our situation. Because we're using our skill once and killing multiple enemies, those green things are littering the floor. There's more than we actually need. And then I get my skill instantly back, and I try to do that on my way to the next wave just in case. But the torch, the flamethrower I'm using, isn't a skill, so I can use it at will as long as I have ammo, and the ammo is constantly dropping. We always stay full on this. So the first time you get out there, you're obviously not gonna have ammo on your flamethrower. It's not a big deal. You'll get it real quickly and be able to maintain it from there after your first public execution. So once it's over, which is only gonna be a matter of seconds, you're gonna wanna talk to one of the hostages and they will give you a bounty. Go ahead and grab that bounty. You want to grab that bounty, and I'll tell you why later. But by grabbing that bounty and then taking a quick second to cancel out of the bounty, it will save it for you to hunt that bounty at a later time. Okay, so once you do that, you basically pop open your map, find the next one, fast travel to it, and rinse and repeat. So I tested this over several days, again, over many seasons. It always comes out to basically the same and equal to the other XP farm methods. The reason why we're doing this on challenging is because on heroic, you're gonna get a lot more elites, and they take longer to die by status effects. And you're gonna have to start using your weapon more in order to get those elites to drop. And you don't have the time to do that, or the ammo, really. To avoid that situation, we have to drop down to challenging. But don't worry, this is optimal XP per hour, even at challenging. So doing this method, you're gonna get about 16 levels per hour. Most people are gonna XP farm in 3 to 4 hour sessions. Obviously you can do longer, but that's gonna give you roughly 48 to 64 levels in a single session. So doing it this way, you're gonna be able to get your watch capped in about 15 days, give or take. So I'll say for new players, this one really is the best. I'm limiting that comment specifically to grinding XP. Okay, a quick look at the build. Okay, so this is what the build looks like, and I do have exotics on it, but the exotics actually aren't required. I'm showing you the exotics because this is the best version of the build, but I'll tell you what the replacements can be. But either way, this build should be easy for you to assemble, and you should be able to assemble it in a single day just by running Countdown. If you watched my first video, you should know what Countdown is by now, but this is Countdown over here, and Countdown allows you to set your targeted loot. So you can go in there and set your targeted loot to Eclipse and get all your pieces probably in a single run. A single run in Countdown takes about 20 minutes and garnishes about 50 pieces of gear. This is an updated build, and what I think is superior to what many others are running out there. And that's because we're running Firewall for the flamethrower.
Whoa, it's not better than Striker.
The flamethrower is the strongest source of fire in the game, and it's extremely effective against the rush, whether you're rushing or you're fighting off the rush. It's fast and extremely strong at killing that enemy quickly, which you need to have happen in order to minimize incoming damage, because you're gonna be very glassy out there. I am running the Scorpio shotgun, but I gotta tell you, I almost never use it. Like literally never. One of the reasons why is because of the ammo directive. So this season we have Pistolero, which means that you can only get ammo by getting a kill with your pistol, and you run out of ammo and have to re-earn it, and so on and so forth. Because you're fast traveling a lot, when you fast travel into safe houses or you cross a mission zone, they're gonna take that ammo that you worked hard to get away from you. So you just wanna count on not having ammo. Count on that. And this build takes that into consideration. So it's more like a placeholder, or in case I need it, in case of emergencies, because you do pick up ammo, but literally not focused on either of these weapons. So the weapon that I am maining is actually the TDI card. And so the TDI card is nice because it gives you a skill tier, and then you can put whatever talent you want on it. I chose In Sync. This has given me 15% more skill damage and 15% more weapon damage. And when you have both, it accumulates to 30% more. So it doubles, but you're also getting the extra skill tier. By having that extra skill tier, I'm able to put an armor core on my build and still have 6 skill tiers. It says 5 down in the corner there, but that's just because I have the shotgun in my hand. So in order to get that skill tier, the pistol has to be in your hand. So that's why it's actually my primary weapon. And I don't have to worry about ammo with it. Plus, in each public execution, I only need to put out a couple of shots. And the only reason I'm doing that is just to make the skill damage stronger. Many of you might not have the TDI card custom, and that's because it is a Dark Zone exclusive. The best way to farm for it is by farming named item caches. And the best way to get named item caches, well, through global events, as well as Countdown. So Countdown gives you credits, a currency that you can use to buy named item caches. Either way, you know, that's dependent on RNG, whether you're gonna get it or not. So the pistol is not required. A pistol is required. So just go with whatever pistol you can get your hands on and then put on In Sync. This build absolutely doesn't rely on that armor core. There's nothing about that armor core that really adds much survivability. It's just a little nice to have. The reality is I'm forced to using the pistol. The TDI card is the best pistol for this build, so that's why I'm using it. And since I'm using it, I went ahead and turned this into an armor core. Okay, so we're running 4 pieces of Eclipse. So Eclipse is amazing. It's what's doing all the work, and it's actually indirect transmission. But 2 pieces give us status effects. Then we got skill haste and some hazard protection. But indirect transmission, your status effects now spread on kill to all enemies within 10 meters and refresh 50% of the duration. And then it has a skill tier. It always comes with the skill tier. You can actually craft this if you have the ability to. Status effects and skill haste, and then proliferation. So this makes that transmission effect greater, wider, really. So 10 meters to 15 meters, and it increases the refresh duration. The backpack is really nice here. This has skill tier, status effects, and skill haste. So status effects actually brings damage to the table on skills that deliver fire. It's damage over time, and it's better than just putting skill damage there. We have skill haste and system aggravator. So it amplifies, that's great. Strongest damage in the game. All damage you deal to status affected targets by 30%. So that's 30% amp damage when they're on fire. So that's why they're dying really fast, or one of the reasons. Okay, and then the knees, skill tier, and status effects, and the holster is gonna look the same. So very easy, those 4 pieces to get. They're pretty standard. And by the way, this is one of the best builds in the game, and you're gonna want it anyways. This build setup is great for legendary, it's great for heroic, it's amazing for team play. Your team will love you for using it. The gloves are electric. This is a pretty standard piece. Status effects and skill damage is what you want. You can have skill haste and status effects, and then it gives you 10% status effects. And of course I put the armor core, but by default it's gonna come with the skill tier, so it should be really easy to farm. The mask is the Vile mask. Now this is a really good piece, and you do want this ultimately, but if you don't have this yet, don't let that slow you down. The Vile mask is not required for all of this to happen. However, it's helpful on the elite targets. There's usually only 1 or 2 of them per public execution, so they're gonna die anyways. This is more for assurances, but all the other guys die too fast for the Vile even to really impact them. So all the purples and the red guys, they're just gonna die whether the Vile's there or not. But again, it is helpful against the elites, so I do recommend you get this and then put skill haste on it, and it's called toxic delivery. So status effects also apply a damage over time debuff for 10 seconds, and that damage is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade and increased by status effects. So this is powered by status effects basically, and explosive damage. So as soon as they're caught on fire or any status effect really, then the Vile is gonna start debuffing them. It's another damage over time effect. If you don't have the Vile mask, you got lots of options. You can run a Brazos. Just make sure you put a skill tier on it. You could also run the Brazos Picaro holster with status effects, of course. Move the Eclipse holster to the mask. You could run a Golan. So Golan gives you 10% status effects. This is what I would go with. And you would want status effects there and skill haste or skill damage. And Golan comes with a blue core. That's the only catch. So you're gonna wanna put a skill tier there, most likely, if you don't have the TDI card. Pistol. Again, Countdown is your source for all of these things. So lots of options. Even a Hannah U or a Wyvern will work. Don't get stuck here and wait to do this for like the perfect piece. Just go with whatever. This build is so overpowered, whatever you go with is just gonna work. So for the skills, we're using the Burn Sticky. You should have got this by completing Warlords in New York, and it is 6 skill tiers. I got Skill Haste on mine and Blast Radius. You could also put damage or burn duration, whatever you like. And then the other skill is the Chem Firestarter. You want burn strength here if you can. Damage is also good. +1 ammo is good. So let me tell you, the reality is that you hardly use the chem launcher. Basically sneak up and snipe one guy with the sticky, and then you run and kill everybody else with the flamethrower. And you're gonna have plenty of ammo on the flamethrower where it doesn't really become an issue. The only time I use the chem fire launcher, in case of emergencies. Maybe there's like an outlier, an enemy, and he's kind of at a distance and I don't wanna go run over there because then I'll take damage, and he's too far out for my flamethrower. So I'll hit him with the chem launcher instead. But use the chem launcher as much as you want to. Quick tip on the sticky, if you double tap your skill button, it'll basically gunsling it. So just line up your reticule, double tap, even if you're on the move, even if you're running, and he's gonna gunsling that sticky bomb. The other way is you can hold your skill and aim it and then release to launch it. That, for me, tends to lead to more misses than gunslinging it. Tip you're gonna need to know for the Firestarter chem launcher. So once you shoot it out there, nothing's gonna happen. It's just gonna be a bunch of purple gas. Now, if the enemy shoots within the gas, or if you shoot the gas yourself, then it can ignite it. But to make it ignite even faster, just double tap your chem launcher skill button and it will ignite it. This next method is farming heroic control points with all 5 directives using a one-shot kill damage build. This is actually my XP farm method. This is how I get my XP. I've been using this method for many seasons now. It's proven, tried, and true. And guess how many levels of XP you get per hour doing this method? About 16 or 17. Whoa. The exact same number as you get by farming public executions on challenging with 5 directives. Crazy to think about. So how does that actually happen? Well, control points take a little bit longer. You have more enemies to kill, more ground to cover, and all the enemies are also elites. So maybe they're smarter? I don't know. So here's the truth from my eyes. What we got going on here is super easy. So this method makes heroic with all 5 directives in the open world feel like child's play. What I have concluded from my experience is that the best XP farm in the game isn't an activity, it's a build. And so this build is so strong that it just doesn't even make sense to drop down into challenging with 5 directives, because it's so easy and heroic that all you're doing is hurting your XP per hour by dropping to challenging.
Meh. My hotshot build is better than this one.
Heroic control points are going to deliver additional benefits. So you're going to get the same XP you can get by doing public executions, if not a little bit more. But you're also killing 2 named bosses, which are going to give you named drops. You also have a better chance at getting exotics, and you have a loot cave that you can open, and you're earning tons of additional materials that are vital for your crafting and your expertise system, including recon data. You probably don't know what recon data is yet, but it's a resource that's needed to add expertise to your weapons and to optimize your gear, all of which are pretty vital in this game. More on that by watching these 2 videos.
Link down below.
When you're farming heroic with 5 directives in the open world, then you want to have a route on hand. And so I'm going to give you my route. It's my favorite route because one of the directives is special ammo, and each faction has different special ammo. So when you fight the outcast, for example, 1 bullet is going to completely engulf you in flames. And when you're on fire, you can't ADS. You basically can't shoot. The True Sons use bleed ammo, which is the best special ammo to fight against when it comes to your options. Also, the zone in which they occupy has some extremely handy fast travel points. So you can go to each one of these with minimal running and traveling in between. Remember, any travel you're doing during XP farming is XP lost. So I'll share this map with you, but basically I start here at the ring safe house. I make a quick jog over to Sinkhole, clear that, jog over to this one, clear that. Then I fast travel over to Capitol building, clear the crash site, fast travel over to this mission, make a quick jog over to No Hope, fast travel to the castle, and make a quick jog over to the crossroads. Finally, I fast travel to Tidal Basin and make a quick jog over to Flooded, clear that, and reset my map as I'm fast traveling back to the original safe house, and I keep doing that same loop. So I timed it to prove that we get the same amount of XP or greater doing this method. If you're new to the game, then this might be one that you need to work up to because it's important that you have a solid build. That being said, I do believe this is the best overall XP farm in the game. And again, it's mostly a build and a good route. So the advantage of control points, again, is that loot cave and the additional resources, as well as possible exotics and named item drops. In addition, you can get amazing XP that definitely outplays public executions this way because in control points, you tend to get additional activities. Things like resource convoys, elite patrols, whatever, and those are going to give you additional XP, even rogues, without you having to travel. So the more XP you can get without traveling, the better. Either way, they still roughly come out to the same. So don't feel pressured to having to do control points. But once you're ready to do control points, that's probably the end game best way to get XP. But for new players, I do agree that challenging with 5 directives and an Eclipse build is probably best because it's just a lot easier. So let's walk through the build here. So this is a one-shot kill build. There are mechanics related to it. And so I have it set up to make it a little easier for you to get to your optimal damage as a new player. Okay, because I know your watch isn't gonna be filled out yet. That's why we're doing this. But normally, so you know, I'm running all armor cores on this build. Okay, so you're gonna wanna run sharpshooter. That way you have access to TAC 50 and you're getting more headshot damage and handling. This is built really around the 1886 rifle, and I have expertise on mine, but I've built this so that you don't need expertise, okay? So I just happen to have it. But damage to targets out of cover and crit damage, and you wanna run determined. So this is gonna allow you to chain kill enemies, elites or not, off of body shots. My backup is the Nemesis. You don't have to have the Nemesis, but it's really helpful against bosses and until you get your TAC 50 ammo. So headshot kills are gonna earn TAC 50 ammo. So once you get it, you're gonna be full on that TAC 50 specialization ammo. For pistol, I'm using the D50 with determined and damage to targets out of cover. If you're gonna want a strong pistol, I recommend this because you're gonna need to get at least 1 kill with your pistol to ammo up. Once you ammo up, that'll last you a couple hours. And again, that's because of the directive pistolero. So we're running 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury. We're not running shotguns or SMGs. We don't care. We're still extremely strong. We got 3 pieces giving us 20% armor on kill, and Apex Predator is giving us 20% amp damage to everybody within 15 meters. So to kick off the fight, your first kill, you want to try to get that guy inside 15 meters, and then after that, you don't care. And then you're going to stack more amplified damage each kill there forward. But we're not really invested too much into that detail. We got weapon damage and headshot damage everywhere on this piece. On the gloves, I have armor and headshot damage. You can put weapon damage there too. And then I have armor and headshot damage on the knees, and the holster is weapon damage and headshot damage. So headshot damage everywhere. On the chest, I'm running Palisades for 10% more armor on kill. It comes with armor. I got headshot damage, handling, protection from elites. It just doesn't have to be maxed out. Just put whatever you have there. Even headshot damage will work there too. But this makes me feel even tankier. And then Headhunter is vital. So as long as you have 150% headshot damage on your build, make sure you have that. Then you're gonna have 1,250% additional damage based off of your last headshot killing blow. So this is a headshot build. Well, you only need 2 headshots and everything else can be body shots and you're still chain killing. The backpack is the memento. Again, this is why I say you might need to work up to this build because you might not have this yet. So this is giving you 3 cores and protection from elites. It's pretty vital on this build for this XP farming method because we're really leaning into that bonus armor. That's why I'm running this. That bonus armor is the shield, and that's what allows me to run around like a crazy man and absorb elite damage, that and the protection from elites. Get that kill and then get the 20% armor on kill from Hunter's Fury plus a 10% armor on kill from Palisades. If you don't have Palisades or you feel like you're underpowered for some reason, then run Providence here instead, or Walker and Harris, or Overlord. And the Memento's also giving you 3% armor regen, and then you're gonna get, on this setup, 40% bonus armor on kill. If you're more advanced, if you're looking to farm XP and you're ready to take this to the next level, go ahead and add armor to all your pieces. That's how I run it. For the skill, you want to run the decoy, and for the other skill, you want to run the fixer. You're actually not really using your skills too much because we're running skill directives. This build doesn't even need skills. The decoy is really nice though, I gotta say. Remember, any other skill might be disabled depending on what directives are available for this season. So the one stat you really need to know is headshot damage. I have 155% headshot damage here on this build. There are mechanics you need to know about, okay? So you have to get 2 headshot kills in order to start doing everything you see me doing. So the first headshot kill you're gonna wanna get with your strongest weapon. So like the TAC 50, the Nemesis, or a really strong non-exotic sniper is fine also. So you get that headshot kill. When you do that, what you're doing is activating Headhunter and you're getting it as close to its cap as possible. And that means you're at your strongest point when you rotate over to your rifle. And then with your rifle, you're ready to go really, except you still need to activate Determined if you want to go for body shots. So to activate Determined, after you switch to your rifle, with your Headhunter now active, you need to get just 1 more headshot with your rifle, and that's going to turn on Determined. From that point forward, you can shoot all your enemies in the body. Now, since you're new to the game, I'll add one more detail, is that if you come across an enemy with a helmet or like a boss, then you're not going to be able to kill them with Determined. It might break their helmet, but you're gonna have to put additional shots on them and then re-earn your Determined again by getting 2 headshot kills. So the reality is you're probably gonna do that maybe once in the beginning and once towards the end, possibly 3 times in a control point. It becomes very second nature to you. Once you get your TAC 50 ammo, use your TAC 50 and try to get that first kill within 15 meters. Otherwise, there's not much to this. You're gonna be pretty excited once you see that you're one-shot killing everybody and you have crazy survivability. Okay, the third method is zonal farming. And one of the best zones to do it is this zone here around the Washington Monument. We have tons of different activities here and you can just go in a circle and complete all of them really quickly. So as long as the control points stay active, these activities will continue to spawn over and over again. But feel free to take on the control points, take them out, and then just reset your map and do it all over again. So for this method, I would probably use the recommended XP farm build that I shared with you, the Hunter's Fury one. You could also use a 4-piece hotshot build, which I'll share with you here. We did test this method in past seasons, but yes, you're gonna get the same amount of XP per hour doing zonal farming as you would any of the other methods. 15 and 20 levels per hour doing this, but what's really nice about it is that it's constant engagement and it's a mixed set of engagement and a mixed set of veterancy, the enemy types that you're encountering. So they're not all gonna be elites. Some of them will be veterans and normals, and then some things are gonna be a lot more elites and so on and so forth. So that makes it nice, and you're not doing just tons of fast traveling, which can be a little bit annoying with the public executions. And if you just don't feel like you're ready for heroic control points, then this is your kind of halfway step between the 2 methods. That's how I would recommend doing it. So start with public executions, move into zonal farming, and then make your way or graduate into control points. Okay, here's the build I recommend for zonal farming, but just so you know, this build will also work for control points with 5 directives. It is more of a play from cover style, and it's actually pretty easy to assemble. So you're gonna wanna run sharpshooter. That's gonna give you access to the TAC 50, more headshot damage and stability. It's also gonna give you ammo regeneration. So if you're running pistolero or ammo hoarders, which is a directive that takes away ammo, as long as you're playing from cover, you're gonna be able to regenerate and maintain your ammo. And then for the pistol, make sure you have a good one. Again, the D50 with Determined is great. You're gonna probably need at least 1 pistol kill to get a boost of ammo from time to time. Okay, so this is built around 4 pieces of hotshot, a really good set, I gotta say. So marksman rifle damage at 30%, weapon handling, 30% headshot damage. If you're not a headshot king, don't worry, this build is very forgiving. Okay, headache. So your first shot does nothing, but activates the counter, and then your next shot is gonna get additional 20% damage, and the shot after that will give you 10% armor on kill, or bonus armor on kill up to 50%, and the third consecutive headshot will refill the magazine, and every kill from that point forward will give you everything above. So you got weapon damage and headshot damage everywhere, and that's basically the equation. So here are the gloves, here are the knees, and here's the holster, more headshot damage. For the chest piece, I am running Palisades for an additional 10% armor on kill, more survivability. That's because you're very strong, so you can do it. I got an armor core, headshot damage and handling, and then again, you want to run Headhunter as before. This is going to give you 1,250% of your last headshot killing blow, and since it's a sniper build, you can be going for the head all the time. But don't worry, it's easy to do so, and I'll explain in a second. The backpack is Habsburg. It comes with an armor core, have more handling and headshot damage, but Bloodsucker, that's gonna give you bonus armor. You can also run Vigilance if you want more damage, but having a nice shielding of bonus armor is really nice. And again, sniper builds are so strong in this game, you could totally get away with that. For skills, you don't need a fixer, but because you're running directives, be careful what you put here. But the Revive Hive is a nice thing to have. It requires like 14 or so scavenge points to get it back once you use it, but you don't use it very often, so it's not a bad thing to have running. But the decoy is going to be important. Just be cautious. Know that if you throw your decoy, it can take away your hotshot stacks, but if you drop your decoy, it won't. That's a bug. It's kind of annoying. You don't have to run the decoy, but it does make things a lot easier. You could just use it in case of emergencies. The SR1 is the sniper I recommend. It's a fan favorite, and it's the second strongest non-exotic sniper in the game. We're hitting at 1.1 million here. I have damage to armor. You can also put damage to targets out of cover if you like. I got headshot damage here, 60 rounds, 10 in the mag, and then Determined again. So once you get that headshot kill, which is gonna be a lot easier with the sniper build, you're now chain killing off of any part of the body, including the big toe. So if you're not a crack headshot, you only need 1 or 2 to get Determined going. And from that point forward, you're shooting everywhere in the body. And then we got +5 rounds here. And then I got more stability there and more stability there. But you can put whatever mods. I just like stability on mine. I'm running the rifle as a backup. We have 323% headshot damage, 46% weapon handling. If you've noticed, a good chunk of this video on leveling your character to 1000 to get your watch to max has been dedicated to builds. And that's right, because builds in this game are the real XP farm, not so much the activity. So get these builds in order, then the world's your oyster.
I'll let you in on a little secret. Do any of these while a global event is active and reap in more rewards thanks to the event's buffs to help you clear content faster.
Okay, bonus round. As a bonus, I'm gonna give you one more way to farm XP in this game. Now, this isn't better than the other 3 methods I just shared with you. However, it is a good one to throw in there to get a variety of activity, as well as additional and different rewards, which will come in handy later. So this is farming bounties, and some are referring to this as cheesing bounties as well. So when you're doing all of those public executions, remember I told you to make sure you grab and then cancel all those bounties? Yeah, so all those bounties are gonna be stacking up in your bounties menu. And there's a way in this game where you can force a bounty to always spawn in the same location. Why is that important? Well, if you're not familiar with bounties in the Division 2, they're kind of a pain in the butt. And the reason why is because you get lost looking for the bounty a lot. They take place in old side missions. Most of them do, at least. And so they can spawn in anyone within certain zones, and the pathways inside those side missions are different and confusing, and that's sort of the point, right? They don't want the bounty to be easy to find because you're on the hunt for this bad guy, right? I find that annoying because you spend more time looking for the enemies than you do actually fighting them in many cases. But if you cheese the bounties or force them to spawn in the same location every time, that's gonna cut out the headache, and then you can just farm it over and over and over again. So you know how to collect bounties. We saw that earlier from XP farm method 1. So that's part of this. So if you want to go after bounty farming, then just know that you're going to have to do public executions first to collect a bunch of bounties. And a quick shout out to IKEA. I did reach out to him because he had a video on this and asked him a few questions about, how this overall performs in XP from his opinion. But it seems he's into it for the additional rewards and tactical assessments and stuff like that. So either way, shout out to IKEA. Check out his channel if you haven't done so, or his video on this. He goes into a little more depth than I'm going to do here. So there's certain spots on the map where you can force the spawn. Now this one here in Constitution Hall has been reported as one of the most popular places to do it, which is this building here in Constitution Hall, and then there's a safe house just right next to it. So you could just go back and forth. But I had a really hard time keeping it 100% consistent. It was like 60% consistent. So I spent a lot of time, canceling bounties, trying again, canceling bounties, trying again. Sometimes I'd get back to back where it would just be really easy and spawn there, and many times it wouldn't.
That's the best one. You were probably just doing it wrong.
It was okay, but the best one was actually this one down here. This used to be a side mission. I'm sure you've all done bounties here before, but this one, 100% of the time I was able to get it to spawn here. So maybe it was just my luck. Maybe other people have had just as good luck elsewhere. But just to keep things simple and straightforward, this is a really good one. There are other locations out there you can do this on, but this one was my favorite because it also happened to be a lot of True Sons. Its bounties aren't strictly one faction or level. You're gonna get normal, challenging, and heroic. But here, I mostly got challenging, and I was able to whip these out in minutes. So I fast traveled to the safe house and basically started or kicked off right here. And so what you need to know is there's boundary lines for these activities. If you're in the boundary line, then it's gonna spawn the bounties somewhere else. So when you activate the bounty, you want to make sure you're just on the other side of that boundary line. So this bench here is a good marker. So I crouch behind this bench and then I activate the bounty, and every time it would spawn in this building. And then I would just run it and make a nice loop and run back down here, do it again, and make this nice quick loop. It's very short, very fast, and sort of fun. So I had a really good time doing it here in this location. But heroic bounties can sometimes be annoying, which I got a lot of those when I tried it over at Constitution Hall, and they weren't even worth it. They weren't worth it. There were several times that I died. The named bosses that you're fighting are throwing out some very unique skills, and sometimes you come across 3 of them in the same room, and they have a fire turret, and it's a very small room, and there's a sniper turret, and they got special ammo, and you're running all 5 directives. They can be a nightmare. And if you die, that's XP lost, right? So anyhow, keep that in mind. You don't have to do every bounty. You can skip certain bounties. Okay, disclosure again, because I got to say this just to make sure it's clear. This is not faster than the public executions.
Again, because you're probably doing it wrong.
This is also not faster than farming control points. It is possible to get it to be very efficient or as efficient as some of these activities if you get a really good squad together and then cheese it and have a special circumstance built onto your map to force all bounties to spawn into a single location, which requires a ton of prep work as well as like-minded friends that can hustle. And only then can it compete, but likely not outpace any of the other methods. Back to the current situation, we are farming XP or leveling solo. And I tested this over several hours and could not get anywhere close to either of the other methods. It roughly accounts to about between 6 and 10 levels per hour at best. And I got really efficient at it. But either way, this is a nice one to toss in there, but now you have the data to know how much XP it's gonna give you per hour, and it is not a power level up, but it's a nice way to get some additional resources. And if you're new, these dish out some serious currency, E-credits, that you're gonna need to optimize or recalibrate your gear. So if you're not XP farming for your watch, but you need to XP farm for resources, throw this one in the mix. So there used to be shortcuts to farming XP in this game, and this is as good as it gets. And the reality is, it's not much of a shortcut. It's just best activity to focus on.
Oh, I remember the Warhound XP farm. Oh, and Floor Ken in the Summit, that was a beast for XP.
The good old days of reaping and max XP is long gone, and the devs keep a tight leash on the XP farming in this game. So it just requires a little bit of focus and some elbow grease, and you are on your way here. I hope this helps you get your watch to 1,000 in no time. Let me know how fast it takes you to get there. If you're already there, Help out the community by giving them some tips and tricks that you learned along the way.
Help get this video to 500 likes, and I'll share my XP exploits with you. Just don't tell Tux. I swear, he's always raining on my parade.
Thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is Tuxedo Bandido, and this was another episode of The Division 2. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The Division 2. And if you like builds like this, check out the recommended build video I have here for you. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
When you buy a game from Ubisoft, enter the creator code Tuxedo Bandido to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Follow me.
I get it.